the dark universe, where civilizations must fight for survival, an inevitable war has erupted. The brutal Vorellian Empire, with its massive warships, has swept through innocent worlds. But amidst this dark storm, humanity, with an unbreakable determination, has proven a strength no one expected. So, how will they stand firm when the very existence of us all is at stake? Will their sacrifice and power be enough to change the course of this battle? Don't miss out. Subscribe to our channel and witness this great transformation. Because this war has just begun. The sky above Solarian had never been so quiet. Iris Valen stood amidst the vast space of the conference room in the government building, her eyes glued to the reinforced window, where the orange and red light from explosions poured down, turning the sky into an ocean of fire. Everything around her seemed to be collapsing, with shock waves hitting the building's structure, shaking her body. The smell of smoke and burning steel infiltrated the air, threatening to invade every cell in her being. 3 weeks ago, this sky had been clear, sparkling with the light of peaceful transport ships, as calm as any other civilization in the Solarian Alliance. This system was a collective of ancient civilizations, from aquatic life forms to spacefaring races that had advanced greatly in both science and culture. But now, the massive black warships of the Vorellian Empire, ruthless and cold machines of war, had breached Solarian space defenses without warning. "Ambassador, we must retreat immediately!" Lark Thorne's voice, Iris's assistant, rang through the quiet but tense room. His face was pale, and Iris could see the panic in his eyes. The two of them had witnessed plenty of destruction over the years serving the Solarian Alliance, but they had never faced devastation like this. Iris shook her head, her gaze still fixed on the window. "No, we're not retreating. Stay in contact with all the outer colonies. We can't leave them stranded." "But Ambassador," Lark hesitated, "they are being destroyed right before our eyes. We can't do anything when their fleet is so powerful." Iris turned to look at him, her eyes sharp as a knife, filled with resolve. "What we can do is hold on to hope, Lark. We can't let everything we've built over centuries crumble because of one attack." The two of them fell silent. They knew that although Solarian was a strong alliance in science and culture, its military was small and unprepared for a bloodbath like this. They were not warriors. They were researchers, diplomats, peace builders. But now, war had come to their doorstep. Iris was not just a diplomat. She was the one person who could maintain unity among the diverse civilizations in the Solarian Alliance. But when the Vorellian Empire began invading the outer planets, she could no longer remain calm. The constant reports of colonies under attack, defense bases destroyed, and warships being blown apart in space made her stomach twist with pain. "How's the situation, Director Vale?" Iris asked as she entered the command room, where chaos was unfolding. Technicians and data analysts were working at full capacity, but no one seemed to have any feasible plans to offer. Director Vale, the head of Solarian's defense forces, looked down at the tactical screen, his eyes devoid of energy. "We've lost contact with 7 outer colonies, Ambassador. Our defense stations have been destroyed. All resistance efforts have failed. Our fleet is retreating, but we can't hold them off much longer." Iris felt her heart tighten. "Has any civilization responded to our call for help?" Vale lowered his head. "The Altarians have promised to send medical supplies. The Centauri Alliance is preparing evacuation ships to pull civilians out of the border worlds. The Helix Collective has promised intelligence, but no one is willing to engage in the war." He paused for a moment, then continued. "So, we're left with one choice." Iris closed her eyes, wondering if there was anything left to hope for. The Solarian Alliance had always prided itself on being a peaceful civilization, but now they faced an invasion that was unavoidable. They didn't have enough warships, not enough forces, but she couldn't let these worlds fall into enemy hands. "We will seek help from where no one has thought to look," Iris said, her voice as firm as steel. A message was sent out from Solarian, but instead of a typical peace offering, it was a call for aid. "The Solarian system is under attack. The Vorellian Empire has no reason, no declaration of war. They are here to destroy. We ask for help. We need military assistance." We do not ask for your soldiers to die for us, but we need any support you can offer." Iris sat down in a chair, her eyes never leaving the screen. She knew this could be the last time she saw this world as it once was. She couldn't just stand there and wait for the end. But she also knew that right now, all hope lay out there. Would Earth, humanity, respond? Then, as the sky over Solarian continued to burn, another message came, this time from Earth. "The message has been received and understood. Our fleet is en route. Expected arrival in 72 hours. Iris couldn't believe what she was hearing. A fleet from humanity was on its way? Could it be that humanity, a race not known for its military power, could be the last hope for Solarian? "We have time," Iris whispered, her eyes lighting up like stars in the dark night. But at that moment, she knew that this war was no longer just the Solarian Alliance's battle. And her decision could change everything they knew about justice, hope, and war. The sky above Solarian felt like a nightmare unfolding. Shockwaves from explosions destroyed space stations and bases, each wave a harbinger of inevitable doom. Iris stood before the console, her eyes filled with confusion, yet also determination. She had no time to think. All their final hope rested on humanity. Lark stood beside her, his eyes full of concern. "Ambassador, the message has been sent, but we don't know if humanity will arrive in time. The Vorellian fleet is getting closer by the minute." Iris turned to look at Lark, a stern resolve in her eyes. "We have to trust them, Lark. The Solarian Alliance could not stand alone. But now, we are not only fighting for ourselves, we are fighting for the entire galaxy." Another shockwave shook the building, but Iris paid it no mind. She had made a decision. Prepare all the colonies. If humanity arrives in time, we will have to protect them at all costs. There's no turning back now. Meanwhile, far away, on the planet Earth, the enormous warships of humanity were being deployed. Admiral Rebecca Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching the tactical display. She couldn't believe what was happening, but the truth was that all human governments had united, from the great powers to the distant colonies. What Iris had asked for, a fleet, a fighting force, had been answered not by a small fleet, but by an enormous force. "We may not be the strongest military, but we are a people who never give up," Admiral Stone said, her voice deep and resolute. She was ready for a battle unlike any before. As humanity's fleet jumped out of hyperspace, the warships appeared on the Solarian technicians' screens like a wave of metal crashing down. First, a massive human dreadnought, grand and imposing, followed by a fleet of destroyers, cruisers, and a diverse array of support ships from across the planets, from small nations to powerful empires. Iris stood before the screen, her hands clenched. "They've arrived." She couldn't believe her eyes. Over 800 ships of humanity were heading toward Solarian, not just to assist, but to fight. Lark looked at her, still skeptical. "Can they help us? 800 ships can't possibly fight the entire Vorellian fleet." Iris bit her lip. "Don't underestimate them. Humans have always defeated their enemies not by numbers, but by their determination and strategy." As humanity's fleet entered Solarian space, the inevitable battle began. The Vorellian fleet advanced with overwhelming force, their colossal warships floating like shadows in space, cutting off all hope for survival for the worlds they passed through. General Drucker, commander of the Vorellian Empire, could not contain his smugness. "Our fleet is 10 times stronger than theirs. They are nothing but weaklings, not worth worrying about." But as the sensors began to blare, an uneasy feeling filled Drakar's mind. The human ships never stopped moving. They weren't just fighting, they were fighting with an incredible precision. On the Defiance, Admiral Stone directed the assault. "Target the Vorellian command ships. None of us can stop now." The human pilots, trained not only to fight but to master the battlefield, attacked relentlessly. Every ship fought not for victory, but for their survival. Each Vorellian ship that was destroyed burst into flames, tearing through space. Meanwhile, Iris watched from the communication stations. She couldn't stop watching the screens, tracking each ship as it exploded. each Vorellian warship being wiped out. The distant explosions echoed in her ears like the bells of war. "Ambassador, we've scored our first victory," Lark said, though his voice didn't sound triumphant. "But we haven't won yet. There are still many Vorellian warships." Iris shook her head, her heart not lightened. "We haven't won until they retreat. It's too early to celebrate." As the battle continued, each victory came at a steep price. Humanity's ships attacked with deadly precision, but there was no guarantee they would hold up for long. Each time, a Vorellian ship was destroyed. Fiery explosions created horrific blasts in space, the light from those explosions shining like dead stars in the cold universe. At the same time, humans suffered tremendous losses. Ships were destroyed. Pilots sacrificed in every battle. Admiral Stone stared at the screen, her eyes burning with fire. "We're not just fighting for Solarian survival. We're fighting for our own." The response of General Drakkar. As Iris and Admiral Stone continued to lead the charge, General Drakkar of the Vorellian Empire realized that war was not as easy as he thought. His army was strong, but it didn't understand the nature of humanity. Their battles were not just ordinary clashes. Humanity fought as if they had an entire world to protect. Finally, after bloody battles, Admiral Stone ordered a final assault. "Target the Vorellian command fleet. No one escapes." The pilots were ordered to destroy every target, leaving no survivors. Each ship destroyed wasn't just for victory, it was to remind the enemy that humanity would never surrender. As the Vorellian fleet descended upon the Solarian system, space seemed to tear apart. The cosmic night became a heavy cloud of black smoke as fireballs from explosions shot out from the colossal Vorellian warships, flashes of light flaring up and then disappearing. It was the sign of brutal attacks that Solarian had never experienced before. Amidst this chaos, the only hope now lay in the human forces fighting along the system. Iris Valen stood in the command room, the red light from the screens reflecting off her face, a sign of both death and survival. Her eyes never left the screen, watching as each Vorellian warship was destroyed. Every time one was blown to pieces, a shockwave surged through, sweeping everything in its path. But Iris knew, even though these small victories were coming, the battle wasn't over. They were facing the full might of the Vorellian war machine, and everything was still too far out of reach. "The Vorellian fleet has begun to overwhelm us, Ambassador." Larkthorn sighed, looking at the report data. "We need to retreat immediately." Iris turned, her face unchanged. "No retreat." Her voice was cold but resolute. "We have nowhere to run. If we don't win today, we won't have another chance." Lark wanted to say more, but Iris's words silenced him. They had done all they could. But what could humanity do against the might of Vorellian, a force that feared nothing? General Drakkar stood on the bridge of the flagship Wrath of Vorellian, his eyes filled with self-satisfaction as he looked at the tactical display. His fleet had swept through Solarian's small forces, easily crushing all resistance. Every Solarian ship had been destroyed within hours. Their weak warships no match for the overwhelming power of the Vorellian fleet. "Our fleet is attacking as planned," Captain Vex, Drakkar's strategic officer, reported. "The outer colonies have been obliterated. We have only a short distance left to complete the campaign." General Drakkar nodded, a cold smile curling his lips. "They are nothing but weaklings. After we destroy Solarian's fleet, this alliance will have no power left." But what he didn't expect was that, in the darkness of space, the human ships, a force he thought could make no difference, were advancing like a storm. These warships were no ordinary machines of war. They held an unbreakable determination. Humans never fought just to survive. They fought to destroy their enemies, not just to protect themselves, but to avenge the innocent lives lost. "All ships commence the attack," Admiral Rebecca Stone ordered. A loud blast from the hyperspace gate echoed, and a fleet of human warships shot out like lions hunting prey. One by one, human ships charged into the Vorellian fleet, breaking their formation swiftly and mercilessly. The human destroyers and heavy warships didn't allow the Vorellian ships a chance to react. The battle raged in the darkness of space. with deafening explosions and flashes of light each time a warship was destroyed. No one could hear the sounds of the battle. Only the blinding light of weapon explosions and the shattering of ships into thousands of pieces. There was no honor in this war. Humans didn't need to degrade themselves in this fight. Every move they made felt like a step further into hell. On the Defiance, Admiral Stone observed every move they made. She understood that, regardless of the outcome, each action would change everything. "Target the Vorellian command ships," she ordered. "Leave no one alive." The pilots, the elite warriors of humanity, taught the invaders what revenge meant. Remember what they've done. They're no longer just invaders. They're murderers, said Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, leader of the fighter squadron. The human ships barreled into the Vorellian ranks, destroying one ship after another, not allowing the enemy a chance to retaliate. Every time a ship exploded, the human pilots only smiled, knowing they were doing what was right. "We have to end this war now," Admiral Stone shouted. The human warships continued to charge into the battle, attacking relentlessly with an unbreakable resolve. This battle was not just a fight for survival. It was a fight to show the galaxy that, when humans fight, they fight not just to win, but to destroy the invaders. On the battlefield, each Vorellian ship was destroyed, and the massive fleets began to lose their strength. By the time General Drakkar realized the truth, he found himself facing an unavoidable defeat. "Retreat!" General Drakkar ordered, but it was too late. His fleet had been crushed. The human warships kept attacking, driving every Vorellian ship to the brink of annihilation. The war was not over, but the battle had determined the fate of Solarian. The sky, once ablaze with fire, had now quieted. Space was still after the storm of destruction. All that remained were the wreckage. The Vorellian warships were obliterated, their massive fleets now nothing more than burning metal fragments drifting through the endless void. Iris Valen, ambassador of the Solarian Alliance, stood on the bridge, her eyes never leaving the war reports. "We've won," Larkthorn said, his voice trembling, not from victory, but from the price of it. "But how many lives have been lost?" Iris didn't answer. She stood there, staring at the screens. The human warships remained stationed just outside the perimeter. Their pilots paused, but the light from victory still couldn't dispel the darkness in her heart. The war had torn apart so much, and though the enemy had been defeated, all that remained was devastation. Immediately after the battle ended, Admiral Stone ordered the human fleet to remain. The military forces had fought like great warriors, but now, with the war over, they did not turn their backs on what they had fought to protect. They stayed. Not only to defend what remained of Solarian's colonies, but also to rebuild what had been destroyed. She stood in the command room, where there were no more tactical screens or battle reports. The feeling of hollow victory enveloped her. Every ship destroyed, every comrade lost, all became part of history. It was supposed to end with a triumphant declaration, but no, there was no joy in this victory. "We will rebuild," Admiral Stone said, her voice firm but heavy. "We are not just victors, we are reborn. All forces, begin reconstruction efforts immediately." Human engineering teams began clearing the debris, salvaging shattered warships and the ruins of destroyed bases. But amid all this brutality, Iris realized something important. Humanity hadn't just saved them from annihilation. They had brought hope to Solarian. But reconstruction was no simple task. The outer colonies of Solarian were in chaos. Millions of lives had been lost in the war, and thousands remained trapped beneath the rubble. While humanity's efforts to help were crucial, Iris knew that without a long-term policy, the Solarian Alliance wouldn't be able to recover. Other nations had turned their backs. Former enemies were now offering help, but could trust be rebuilt after all that had happened? "General Drakkar," Iris said coldly, as she entered the holding cell where the Vorellian general was being detained. She didn't feel satisfaction looking at him. The man who had caused the deaths of millions now sat in his cell, glaring at her with hatred. "We've won, but what is the cost of this victory?" General Drakkar looked at her, a faint smile curling on his lips. "Your victory is temporary. Can you keep this peace?" He smirked, his voice dripping with mockery. Iris didn't respond immediately. She knew he could never understand. The brutality of Vorellian was not the way Solarian or humanity viewed war. Humans fought not to destroy, but to protect and to build. "We will rebuild," Iris replied, "and we will not allow creatures like you to cause suffering again." And so, as reconstruction began, life slowly returned to Solarian, but the shadow of war still loomed. The outer colonies were slowly recovering, but Iris knew it would take decades. It was a long journey, a blood-soaked journey no one wanted to repeat. "We've defeated the Vorellian, but the real war starts now," Admiral Stone said as Iris stood beside her on the ship's deck, watching the sky slowly brighten. The sense of victory still weighed heavily in the air. "We must rebuild what we lost," Iris said, her voice softer, but her determination unchanged. "But this time, we will not do it alone. Humanity gave us the chance to survive, and we will never forget that." As the human warships left the system, leaving behind scenes of devastation, Iris gazed at the sky where the stars still shone brightly. The war had passed, but Solarian would never forget. Humanity had shown the galaxy that, though they fought to protect life, they would never cease working to build a better future. Thank you all for taking the time to follow this intense story. If you enjoyed what you've seen, don't forget to leave a comment below and share your thoughts with us. Every opinion is truly appreciated. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any upcoming stories. We deeply value your companionship in every step of this journey. We hope that these stories continue to inspire and bring emotional moments to you. Wishing you all strength and unwavering faith, because this battle, not only on the screen but in real life, always needs people like you, resilient and never giving up. See you in the next videos.